The night the line was crossed, the wind off Lake Michigan cut through steel and bone alike. Chicago never truly sleeps. It just watches. The streetlights flickered along the south side, casting long shadows across cracked sidewalks and graffiti-stained brick. Sirens wailed in the distance, not urgent, not panicked, just the steady heartbeat of a city that has learned to live with danger. Officer Marcus Hale had once believed he was different. He had once believed he was the good guy. Tonight, that belief would die. Marcus Hale grew up in Englewood, where gunshots blended into lullabies and boys learned early that survival meant picking a side. His father, Daniel Hale, had been one of the rare ones, a Chicago police officer who refused envelopes slipped under tables, who refused favors from local crews, who refused to bend. He died when Marcus was 15. Officially, it was a routine traffic stop gone wrong. Unofficially, everyone knew his father had refused to look the other way when a certain organization wanted a shipment ignored. The department called him brave. The streets called him stupid. Marcus called him a hero. At the funeral, standing beneath gray skies at Mount Greenwood Cemetery, Marcus made a silent vow. He would wear the badge, but he would survive. At 23, Marcus graduated from the academy. He was tall, sharp-jawed, eyes steady. The instructors said he had command presence. The older officers said he had something to prove. His first partner was Officer Raymond Duffy, 20 years on the force, thick Irish accent, thick mustache, thicker cynicism. "Kid," Duffy told him on the first night shift, "Chicago ain't about good guys and bad guys. It's about who controls the chaos." Marcus laughed it off. He still believed in procedure, in policy, in justice. Then came his first shooting, a domestic call in Little Village. A man high on meth, screaming, waving a knife. Marcus shouted commands. The man lunged. Marcus fired. 2 rounds. Center mass. The man dropped. The body camera caught everything. Internal Affairs cleared him. But that night, alone in his apartment, Marcus stared at his trembling hands. He told himself it was necessary. He told himself it was justified. He told himself he was still like his father. 3 years into the job, Marcus had built a reputation. He made arrests. He chased suspects down alleys. He didn't flinch, but he also noticed things, which businesses never got raided, which corners never got patrolled too closely, which officers seemed comfortable. One freezing November evening, Marcus and Duffy responded to a suspicious vehicle behind a warehouse near the river. Inside the van were crates, unmarked. Duffy closed the back doors slowly. Then he looked at Marcus. "Some things," Duffy said quietly, "aren't worth the paperwork." Marcus frowned. "We call this in." Duffy stepped closer. "You want to end up like your father?" The words hit like a punch. A black SUV pulled up. A well-dressed man stepped out. Gold watch. Calm smile. He handed Duffy an envelope. Then another toward Marcus. Marcus hesitated. The city lights reflected off the Chicago River behind them. His father's grave flashed in his mind. And then the bills inside the envelope flashed brighter. Marcus took it. That was the first step across the line. He told himself it was temporary. Just extra cash. Just looking the other way. He wasn't hurting anyone directly. He wasn't pulling the trigger. He wasn't dealing drugs. He was just surviving. But survival is a slippery word. Soon he was rerouting patrol routes, ignoring tips, losing evidence. The man in the gold watch, Victor Salazar, became a regular presence. Salazar ran half the west side without ever getting his hands dirty. He spoke softly, paid generously, and always reminded Marcus, "We take care of our own." Marcus bought a better apartment, a new car. He sent money to his mother. He told himself he was doing what his father never could, playing the game smarter. Until the game demanded more. It happened on a humid July night. Gunshots. Multiple callers. Marcus and Duffy arrived first. An alley behind a corner store. A teenage boy lay bleeding against a dumpster. 17 at most. Brown hoodie. Terrified eyes. He grabbed Marcus's sleeve. "It wasn't me." the boy whispered. They said I saw too much. Marcus knew instantly. The corner store was one of Salazar's drop spots. The boy had probably witnessed a handoff. This wasn't random violence. This was cleanup. Sirens approached. Backup. Ambulance. The boy squeezed Marcus's hand weakly. Please don't let them. His voice faded. Flatline. Marcus stood there as paramedics worked. He felt something crack inside. Later that night, Salazar called. Unfortunate situation, Salazar said smoothly. But the streets handle themselves. Marcus hung up without replying. He couldn't sleep. For the first time since taking that envelope, he wondered if he'd become part of something his father would despise. Guilt didn't stop him. Fear did. Salazar reminded him quietly that favors create leverage. There were photos, bank records, a paper trail. Your family now, Salazar said one night over whiskey in a private club downtown. And family protects each other. Marcus realized something chilling. There was no stepping back, only forward. So he went forward. He falsified a warrant to target a rival crew. He tipped Salazar before a federal task force sweep. He even planted a firearm in a suspect's car to close a case quickly and keep attention off Salazar's operations. Each act felt easier than the last, each line blurrier, until he barely remembered where the line had been. Detective Elena Ramirez transferred from internal affairs to major crimes with a reputation. Sharp, relentless, uncomfortable. She reviewed old case files, patterns of missed patrols, botched raids, evidence disappearing. One name appeared repeatedly. Officer Marcus Hale. She didn't accuse. She observed. She started riding along, asking questions, watching body cam footage frame by frame. Marcus noticed. Internal affairs ghost. Duffy muttered one night. Be careful. Marcus forced a smile. But inside, the old fear returned. The city doesn't punish immediately. It waits. One evening, Marcus received a call from his mother. His younger cousin, Jamal, had been arrested. Gun possession. Marcus drove to the precinct. When he opened the evidence locker file, his stomach dropped. The arresting officer was one of Salazar's paid contacts. The firearm? Planted, just like Marcus had done to someone else. Jamal swore he was innocent. Marcus believed him, but he had helped create the very machine now crushing his own blood. He called Salazar. Fix this. Salazar chuckled softly. That's not how it works, officer. For the first time, Marcus realized he wasn't a partner. He was a pawn. Detective Ramirez paid him a visit at home. No lights, no sirens, just a quiet knock. I know about the warehouse, she said calmly. And the van. Marcus kept his face blank. You're smarter than the others, she continued. That's why this surprises me. She slid a small recorder onto the table. A muffled voice played. Salazar, talking about our officer. Marcus felt the walls close in. You're not the first cop to cross the line, Ramirez said softly. But you can choose which side you end on. She left him with the recorder.
And a choice.
Marcus met Salazar the next night under the pretense of warning him. But this time, Marcus wore a wire. His heart pounded louder than any siren. Salazar sensed something. You look nervous, officer. Marcus forced a laugh. Just pressure. Salazar leaned closer. You know what happens to people who betray family. Before Marcus could respond, headlights flooded the lot. Unmarked cars. Federal agents. FBI jackets in the wind. Salazar's smile disappeared. Chaos erupted. Shots fired. Marcus hit the ground. When the dust settled, Salazar was in cuffs. But so was Marcus. Because Ramirez hadn't promised immunity. Only truth. The headlines were brutal. Chicago cop on mob payroll. Hero's son turns corrupt. His father's photo resurfaced in every article. Commentators debated. Was Marcus a victim of pressure? Or just greedy? In court, Jamal testified. About the planted gun.
About the system.
Marcus didn't look away. He confessed. Everything. The envelopes. The tips. The falsified warrants. Gasps filled the courtroom. His mother wept silently. Detective Ramirez watched without expression. Salazar glared like a caged animal. Marcus was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Stripped of badge, pension revoked, name disgraced. But Salazar received life, and dozens of corrupt officers fell in the aftermath. The network collapsed. For the first time in years, certain neighborhoods saw real raids, real accountability, real change. Karma doesn't always roar. Sometimes it rebuilds. 3 years into his sentence, Marcus received a letter. No return address. One sentence inside. Your father tried to warn you. He stared at the handwriting for hours. He didn't know who sent it, but he knew it was true. He had crossed the line not because he had to, but because he chose to. And choice carries consequence. One winter morning, news broke inside the prison. Detective Elena Ramirez had been indicted. Evidence tampering. Questionable interrogations. Cases collapsing. Marcus read the article twice. The woman who brought him down had crossed her own line. He sat back on his bunk, stunned. The system wasn't clean. It never had been. Lines blur everywhere. Years later, Marcus walked out on parole. Older, grayer, quieter. Chicago looked the same, but he wasn't. He visited his father's grave. Knelt. I thought surviving was enough, he whispered. I was wrong. Wind moved through the cemetery. For a moment, he felt peace. But as he walked back to his car, a black SUV idled at the curb. Tinted windows. Engine running. The passenger window lowered slowly. A familiar gold watch rested on the steering wheel. Salazar's nephew. Smiling. Family doesn't forget, the man said calmly. The engine revved softly. And Marcus realized something chilling. Crossing the line once means it never truly disappears. The screen fades to black. Sirens in the distance. Wind over Lake Michigan. And a question hanging in the air. Was Marcus a villain? Or a product of a broken system? And if you were in his position, would you have taken that first envelope? Comment below. Because sometimes the line isn't as clear as we think.